Now look, the reason we're here for public housing is we're here every week on Thursday to promote the idea of public housing, something that's gone out of favour. But the other reason I'm personally here, and maybe some of you are here for, is today's a very special day. It's a day of mourning. And it's an official day of mourning. And I'm not here to mourn the death of Elizabeth Windsor. I'm here to mourn the death of the tens of millions of people who have died as a result of the Crown. I'm here to mourn the Eureka rebels. I'm here to mourn Indigenous people around the old British Empire. I'm here to mourn the 800,000 people who died, Indians who died in the Indian Mutiny. I'm here to mourn the tens of thousands of Scots who died resisting British colonisation, the millions of Irish who died resisting the British Crown, the members of the IRA who starved themselves to death in the 1970s in the fight for Irish independence. And I'm here to mourn the tens of millions who died directly and indirectly as a result of the activities of people from England acting on behalf of the British Crown. It's fascinating. As I walked through the city this morning, there was a woman who was about 60, maybe 70, homeless, had her little effects next to her, and she was huddled, this was about 8:30 in the morning, huddled in a little corner to protect herself from the wind. I don't know if she had psychiatric issues, it doesn't really matter. She was eating a bun. I think to myself, what will happen to her when she dies? Will we see the pomp and ceremony marking her death? Of course we won't. She's a subject. We're all subjects of the Crown in this country. And if you think that the Crown is irrelevant, it is just some fancy British pantomime that has put the Mikado to rest. These are the best British pantomime, English pantomime I've seen in my lifetime. The antics round the burial of the sovereign and the antics which will occur around the crowning of the new so-called sovereign. The fact is, it's not about an individual, it's about an institution. Can you divest the German Nazi Party from Hitler? Can you divest Pol Pot from the atrocities committed by the Khmer Rouge? Can you divest Stalin from the atrocities carried out by the Soviet Communist Party? Obviously we can't. They're intertwined. They're one and the same. So when people tell me that I should mourn for an institution that has caused the death of tens of millions and continues to have profound implications, especially for First Nations people who continue to suffer at the hands of that institution. And I recommend, if there was one person who could upstage the death of Elizabeth Windsor, that's not her real name, it's actually a German name that changed. It was Jack Charles. For a brief 24 hours, the death of Jack Charles overshadowed the death of the monarch in this city, only in this city. And why? Yeah. Jack was a radical activist. He wasn't just a nice little old man. He was a man who battled addictions all his life. He was a trendsetter as far as the urban Indigenous resistance was concerned. concerned. And Jack's life is immortalised in the play, which is done around the world. Jack versus the Crown. So all his imprisonment, all the harm that he suffered was as a consequence of the institution, the Crown. And if you think the Crown is irrelevant, look at the way our Prime Minister has been duchessed by the pomp and ceremony. Look at the fact that if I, and it'll never happen obviously, was elected to this House of Parliament or to the Federal Parliament by the people, and I refused to swear allegiance to the monarch and their heirs, that I could not take my seat of Parliament. It is a legislative requirement that parliamentarians swear allegiance to the monarch and their heirs before they can take their seat in Parliament. And that trumps the will of the people that has elected them. Think about it. You elect me and you'll see what I'm doing. I was thinking of actually taking my allegiance by pulling my pants down, turning around, putting my head between my knees, which would be very difficult at my age, and giving my allegiance to the sovereign. Or I wouldn't, and I'd be thrown out, and then they'd have to call a new election, and I would stand for that new election. All right, that's how I deal with the problem. Exactly. So what I'm saying is, it's Crown land. If you don't hold freehold title in this country, it is Crown land. It's the Crown that has offices, palaces in every state. You pay for the honour of having a governor and a governor general and all the staff. Now I reckon each and every one of you could make a wonderful king or queen. And you know why? You've got 4,000 people working for you. You've got valets, people to look after your dogs, look after your racehorses. No, racehorses. You think about it. Dresses, you name it. And I'm thinking to myself, I compare this little woman I saw this morning in the CBD homeless. I'm thinking, she could be queen. She could wave. She could save, sign documents. The great thing about being a monarch, you cannot touch the monarch or even touch their hand. They don't have to shake hands. So they don't even get an RSI like a democratically elected leader does. So, but seriously, I'm here to mourn. I'm here to mourn. And that's the beauty of living in the 21st century. History does not exist. It doesn't matter. It's recreated every morning by the legacy media, which sets the agenda every morning about what is news. Look at the Royal Australian Broadcasting Corporation. Look at all those people that went to London to cover the funeral. I mean, I have a habit when I go to the country that I don't turn anything on for a few days, except read text messages. And it's a funny story. Lillian, a person I know in Brisbane, texted me, and she said, I've raised the Eureka flag, I've bought some groceries, and I'm locking myself in for 2 weeks. And I thought, Lillian's finally cracked. She's finally... So I ring her up, she answers the phone, and I said, what's going on, Lillian? She said, haven't you heard, Joe? And I said, no, what? She said, Elizabeth Windsor has died. And I know what will happen, and I can't stand the thought of listening to it for 2 weeks. And I said, Elizabeth, you're crazy. It'll all blow over in a day or two. How wrong I was. How wrong I was. But I meet a lot of people in my work, and I don't think maybe I've had one conversation about the death of Elizabeth Windsor. And I think to a significant degree, it's manufactured, this grief. Then if you look at the grief, just a few figures, facts and figures. 1/3, 28 million of the British Isles watched the funeral on television. 1 in 3. 250,000 people walk past the coffin. And people think, this is huge. When you think about it, that's 2.5 MCG crowds. And people pay to go to a football match. They didn't pay to walk past the coffin. So think about it. Even in England itself, there's resistance to this mass hysteria. And if you look at the composition of London, you look at the composition of the crowd filing past the coffin, you understand what's going on. So look, I'm sorry for taking up your valuable time, especially with entertainers like the public housing balladeer. But let's have a minute's silence for all those people who've died as a direct and indirect consequence of the Crown and British imperialism.
Thank you, Joe.
Now,
Thank you, Joe.
who will be the timekeeper?